Hello, my name is Rian Benason. Today, we will explore the gig edge cloud solution, and in particular, I will show you how to create a virtual data center and a virtual machine using an end-user portal on a G8. First thing you need to do is access your customer account on the G8. I'll go ahead and log in and authenticate on the G8. Once authenticated, I will then have access to my customer account and additional customer account settings. If I click on the additional customer account settings, I will have the option to add additional users to the account with different access privileges. For example, read, write, and admin. Setting account customer access on the customer account level as the highest level, you also have the option to add users to a virtual data center and virtual machine level. I will demonstrate that a little bit later in this demonstration. Next thing I would like to do is create a virtual data center inside my customer account on the G8. On the G8, we refer to a virtual data center as a cloud space. I will go ahead and create the new cloud space. In the pop-up window, I can then select my customer account. I will give my virtual data center or cloud space a name. Let's call this VDC1 as an example. I will select a location. Now, I have just selected the G8 located in Lugano, Switzerland. If my customer account exists on more than one G8, I will have the option to provision on any one of those G8s. The system will automatically assign a private address space to my cloud space, as is shown below. I'll go ahead and click OK. Within a few seconds, my cloud space will be created, and I will be presented with this window. On the left, I have the option to select machines. From here, I can configure, launch, and manage my virtual machines inside my cloud space. On the right-hand side, I'm presented with the Defense Shield. The Defense Shield is a gateway or firewall which allows me to configure the privacy of my cloud space in addition to securely accessing my cloud space. The configuration of the Defense Shield is outside of the scope of this demonstration. If I click on Machines, next thing I would do is create a machine, and I will be presented with a creation or create machine window. In here, I'm going to give my new virtual machine a name, VM1. I'll give it a description, test VM1 as an example. And next, I need to decide on the operating system image I would like to use to deploy my virtual machine. Options include CentOS, Linux, Ubuntu, Windows, etc. For this demonstration, I'm going to select Ubuntu and Ubuntu Server. Next, I need to decide how much cloud resources I would like to assign to my virtual machine. In this case, I'm going to select a standard virtual machine of 4 GB memory and 2 virtual CPU cores. Then I need to choose a boot disk size. In this case, I'm going to choose a boot disk of 20 GB on SSD. When I hit the Create button, the G8 will go ahead and create my virtual machine. This generally takes up to a minute for the virtual machine to be created. Once your virtual machine has been created inside the cloud space, you will then be able to access the machine page. On the top left-hand corner is the Actions tab. From here, I can change the description of my virtual machine, and I can see the status. For example, it's running. The IP address assigned to my virtual machine from the virtual private address pool inside the cloud space, the operating system image I used to deploy my virtual machine, the initial credentials created for me to access my virtual machine. You can add additional credentials and or change your credentials. And then finally, the virtual resources assigned in the creation of my virtual machine. On the right-hand side, I have the Actions bar, where I can perform certain actions on my virtual machine. For example, I can choose to pause, stop, reboot, or reset my virtual machine. In addition, I can choose to take a snapshot on my virtual machine for later reference. In addition, I have the option to resize the compute capacity assigned to my virtual machine. For example, if I'd like to increase the number of virtual CPU cores assigned to my virtual machine, I will use the resize compute capacity function to perform that action. And then finally, I have the option to destroy the virtual machine from this menu. If I click on the console access, I'm presented with a console to my virtual machine. From here, you can see that my virtual machine is already booted. And if I click on the console and press enter, I will then be able to log into my particular virtual machine. You will notice that my virtual machine has an ID 6852. This becomes relevant later on when you wish to use the machine APIs. The machine API tutorial is outside of this demonstration and will be covered in a separate session. From here, I can then choose to log into the console, and to make it easy, I can do a copy username to console by clicking this button and then press enter. Next, I will do the same with the password. I will copy the password to the console, scroll down and press enter. And there we can see I have now logged in successfully to my virtual machine via the console. You may also wish to add additional virtual disks to your virtual machine. This can be accomplished by using the Disks tab and selecting Create Disks. For example, I may want to add a new disk, which I'm going to call Data 1. I'm going to give it a size, let's say 100 gigabytes. And I'll give it a description. Let's call it Data Disk 1. I hit the Create Disk. This generally takes a couple of seconds for the virtual disk to be created on the G8 and associated with my particular virtual machine. Once the virtual disk has been created, I will be able to see it inside the disks menu. There we can say the 100 gigabyte disk that has been created. I can also choose to remove this disk from this menu. If I click on the snapshots tab, I will be able to access all the available snapshots I have taken of this virtual machine. There are none created right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take a snapshot and give it a name. Let's say snapshot 1. And then the system will go ahead and create my snapshot and add it to this menu. Once the snapshot is created, I will then be able to see it in the menu. I'll see the date and timestamp when this particular snapshot was created. I then have an option to roll back to this particular snapshot or even delete it if I wish to do so. From the change log, I will be able to access all the information on all actions taken on my virtual machine. For example, here I can see when that virtual machine was created, when we've added the additional disk, and when the snapshot was taken. I may also wish to share the virtual machine and share access to other colleagues within the organization. From this menu, I can then add particular access rights for those additional users, whether that be read, write, or admin. As previously mentioned, this is the lowest level of access rights that can be assigned in a cloud space. You also have the option to assign users to a custom account level, virtual data center, in this case, the cloud space level, or the virtual machine. Next, if I click on port forwards, this will give you the option to allow my virtual machine to gain access to the internet. For example, I might wish to deploy a web page on my virtual machine, and for that, I need to allow port 443 as an example to gain access to the internet. So what I do is I select port 443 associated with my public IP address on my cloud space, and I make sure this gets port forwarded to my virtual machine 1 on the same port 443. So I'm going to click OK. And within a few seconds, my port forward port forward will be set up within my firewall. For demonstration purposes today, I'm also going to add an additional port forward that's for SSH. I'm going to use this port forward to demonstrate how you can access your particular virtual machine using SSH from outside of the G8. So I'm going to go ahead. I've just created my particular port forward on port 22 from public IP address to my internal private address on my virtual machine on port 22. So I'm going to open a quick terminal window here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to copy this public IP address because I want to access that. Cancel. And I'm going to use the initial credentials that were created as part of the VM creation. In this case, the username is cloudscalers and there's my public IP address. Now, this is the first time I access a machine, so I'm going to add this to my known host. Click yes. Now, to get access to the password that is initially set up, I'm going to go back into the console. I'm going to click the View the Passwords button. I'm going to copy that, and I will put it in there. And there you can see I have now accessed via SSH remotely my virtual machine. So this concludes the main part of this demonstration. In addition, you may also wish to visit the Defense Shield, which is an advanced configuration capability. From here, you can download the OpenVPN config. So you can set a VPN access to your cloud space. In addition, from here, you can access the MikroTik Router OS, which is the standard gateway we install with every cloud space, and access the advanced configuration functionality. In future, we will also provide you the option to install additional or new gateways and firewalls. For more information, you can also go and click on the Getting Started menu, which provides a quick tutorial guide on the information covered today in our tutorial. In addition, we will have a future tutorial on accessing the machine API. You may also wish to consult the knowledge base, which provides more information and how-to guides on, for example, how to configure Ubuntu to connect to your OpenVPN support. Thank you very much for listening to this demonstration. I hope this information was useful and that we will see you soon on future demonstrations. Thank you very much.